Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video. Time for another update for this week in Master Duel. And today, the day this video is going out, we actually have a new selection pack. But there's a lot more to talk about than just the cards that are going to be in that selection pack. As most of you have probably noticed by this point, Master Duel has recently undergone a massive new update where a lot of new data was being downloaded. I believe that from what I've heard, most of that data is a result of the Unity engine, I think it is Unity, that Master Duel runs on as a whole being updated, but it did of course come with its share of significant updates. So we're going to talk about the updates to Master Duel itself, like the UI stuff, as well as some of the other new like card animations and things that have been found in the update so far. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the selection pack, some of the cards in it, and we'll go over some of the archetypes that are coming up here in some more detail. So let's pop on up over here to notifications. And yep, actually we're going to do the version update first. Notice version update, new update available. We have made the following features: updates based on player requests and feedback from surveys. Oh, perfect. It actually shows them, it actually tells you more about them in here. So, mandatory update from today. It is, again, a mandatory update, so you can't rematch with previous versions. Yep, makes sense. All right. Notable updates applied upon update. Duel-related updates. Duel log improvements. The following adjustments have been made to the display of the duel log. We've improved the duel log by making it easier to see the position as your position as you scroll. The background of the scroll bar will change with each turn. Oh, that's cool. That's actually really handy. When multiple cards move simultaneously, they will now be displayed as moving grouped together instead of one at a time. Yep. We've updated the duel log to display the result of the coin toss, the player's choice is going first or second, and the outcome of their choice. Other layout adjustments have been made. That's actually very nice. I remember noticing that in one of the other videos I just recorded here. Made the coin toss result and choice going first, second visible when commencing spectating. So yep, now during replays you'll get to see not only what the coin toss result was, but who opted to actually go first or second. Pretty cool. Modified the display of monsters treated as continuous spell trap cards. I wondered why they did that. Monsters placed the spell traps out as continuous spell or trap cards will now have a spell or trap card icon. That's pretty handy. Modified the icon display for monsters with multiple attributes. We'll now have animated attribute icons making it clear that the monster has multiple attributes. Change card location when selecting battle position. After you decide where a monster is placed in the field, will now appear in a different on-screen location. Wait, after you've decided where on the field to place a monster, the card will now appear in a different on-screen location while you decide its battle position. Okay. I haven't seen that in action yet, but I imagine that'll be made more clear once I actually see it. Added the animation to some mates when losing a duel. I will say that is cool. I do like they're going back and giving some of the mates that have like no animations at all, or like just the one rather, making them feel a little more lively. It's very nice. Other updates, added a feature to enlarge card images. A new feature has been added to the card details page, allowing the user to enlarge the card image by selecting it. That's cool. Implemented line breaks in card text. Whoo, this is a big one and one that's very, very nice. The text on cards has been updated to include line breaks between each effect. So now, if you're looking for a specific effect, and it's not being highlighted like in a duel, you actually have the ability to like find it a lot more easily. It's so nice. We'll see that a bit more when we actually click on some cards. I'll show you here when we look at like the selection pack, but it's very, very nice. Season points page, a new season. Wait, season points page has been renamed to season report. A new season results select section has been added to the page. Oh, so this is just like WCS Duel Scup stuff. Got it. Okay. Alright, some PvE issues with some specific cards. I'm not really too concerned about that. Okay, so one thing that this update here did not talk about, or the notification here didn't talk about, is that there are some card animations that have been added to the game recently as well. I believe okay, so the most notable one is that Heavy Storm got an update. And for those who are somehow unfamiliar with what card I'm talking about, because it's very possible that you might not have been playing while this card was legal. We're going to have to filter by banned cards, because... Oops, here we go. Here we go. Forbidden. Yes, Heavy Storm, a card that is currently banned, did get an animation. This is pretty much just Dark Hole, Force Spell, and Trap cards. The reason now you might be wondering, well, okay, why is a card that destroys your own spell and trap cards banned, while Harpy's Feather Duster, which only destroys the opponent's back row, not banned? Well, it's for decks like Unchained or I think Artifact has to be destroyed by your opponent specifically, but long story short, there are a fair number of decks that actually want to blow up their own back rows. So this card is a much better version of Harpy's Feather Duster in those decks, and also in a lot of instances just an additional copy of Harpy's Feather Duster for the case of just getting rid of all of your opponent's spell and trap cards. Again, it is very interesting to note that this card is currently banned, but got an animation. Definitely indicates that it will likely be unbanned in the very near future. And also, fun fact, this card recently got unbanned in the OCG, so that further leads credence to the theory that this card will be coming back to one, probably on the next ban list if they're giving it an animation now, right? I mean, also, in the past with unbanning cards, they'll kind of do, like, a different separate ban list and be like, by the way, this is unbanned in a couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that here with Heavy Storm at some point. That hasn't been officially announced or anything, but that's just a little bit of speculation on my part. So, other cards that received animations, I know the Sky Striker Mobilize Engage received one. So, I haven't actually seen it myself. I'm pretty eager to see what it looks like. And I know that, I know one of the, oh, what is that archetype called? Oh, they have a solo mode. Hang on, let me. Not good synchro monster got got an animation. It's one of the dual terminal archetypes, I think. It wasn't. Oh, hang on, let me just. You know what? I know a place where I can find it here. It was. Oh, Fabled Leviathan got an animation. Oh, and Naturia Beast. That is a more relevant dual terminal card. That also got an animation. There was Naturia Beast. So, I think, again, they didn't talk about that here in the version update here, but I think that combined with everything they did mention here is everything from the version update itself. So, oh my god, also a whole number of PvE issues, I guess, were fixed as well. Neat. Alright, so, now that we've talked about the changes to Master Duel itself, let's talk about the new selection pack. Revived Legion, new Ace of Salamangreat, Raging Phoenix, Memento, Horus, and don't forget SP Little Knight either. Oh, how could we? So, this is going to be the big one. Also, this is what I was talking about before with line breaks now being introduced here. It's so nice. I don't know why TCG doesn't do this. Like, OCG does it in their cards, I'm pretty sure. Well, they have, like, the numbered effects, but either way, the line breaks, mwah, love it. But, yeah, SP Little Knight, that's going to be the big one. This is definitely going to be a huge addition to Master Duel. Not just for, like, you know, Snake Eye, which I think a lot of people are first thinking of when they think of Little Knight boosting decks, but, like, this is just a generically extremely good card. We've already covered what it does here, and, you know, if you don't want to, or rather, if you don't know, I'll let you just read the effect here, but I'm going to be pulling for not just one, but 2 copies of this, because there are some extras I've seen that do actually play 2 copies. So, yeah, I definitely think it is super worth it to get your hands on. At least if you get nothing else after the new pack drops. If you buy no packs, if you only craft one UR, SP Little Knight, craft this card. It is, like, unbelievable how important it's going to be. And I've seen people say, and I've had people ask me, like, you know, so when this card comes out, does it just replace Nightmare Unicorn, you know, everywhere, like en masse? And I think that in a lot of decks, yes, you will just play this and play it in situations where you would normally go IP into Nightmare Unicorn. Now you can go IP into Little Knight. That'll give you the first banish during your opponent's turn, and then also during your opponent's turn, you have the ability to banish a card on each side of the field until the end phase as well. So 2 banishes for no discards. Definitely better than 1 spin for 1 discard. So, but that said, there are still some situations in which Nightmare Unicorn will be handy as a link 3, like to climb up to access code. So, Because I remember someone in a recent stream in chat was asking, should I dismantle Nightmare Unicorn to make SP Little Knight? I would not dismantle Nightmare Unicorn. No, definitely keep your copies of it, because it will definitely still come up. But yeah, no, for the most part, you will just be playing this in a lot of situations where you would just IP into something like Nightmare Unicorn there. Another big addition for a lot of fire decks, but especially, it's sad I was going to say especially Snake Eye. This is the new Salamangreat boss monster. Salamangreat, of course, getting a huge new wave of support. And don't get me wrong, the Raging Phoenix is extremely good in Salamangreat. But you will probably be seeing this card more often in Snake Eye. This card is, at least from what I've heard, is pretty much expected to replace the Ambler Whale. It has the ability to revive itself when a fire monster you control is destroyed, and then it can come back with that monster's attack points on top of its own. So, the Ambler Whale, it can pop bodies, but only if a Link 3 or lower monster is destroyed, so I can definitely see why the Raging Phoenix is preferred. It's just less situational, and I can definitely see how it would also be easier to OTK with this card as well. Already having a very solid attack base of 2800, and then being able to revive itself and then gain attack equal to the attack of your destroyed fire monster. Again, it's any fire monster too that's destroyed that lets it revive itself, and the materials are also simply 2+ fire effect monsters. So again, very, very, very good addition for the Salamangreat deck. Oh yeah, and I guess Salamangreat too. No, Salamangreat post new support, I do definitely expect it to bump up to like upper to mid rogue as opposed to lower rogue where it is now. I don't think it'll be tiered, but there is a chance. I guess we'll see. So Horus, I'm actually going to talk about Horus and Memento here in a lot more detail. We're actually going to go over to Wikipedia here in a moment and look over all of the cards from each of the archetypes here of both Horus and Memento. So I'm not going to focus on these here for the moment. Overload Future Fusion, I don't know why this is like one of the cover cards. I don't really know why this is a UR. It's not really that great. It does let you potentially foolish monsters by revealing a fusion monster into extra deck and sending a monster mentioned it, but you can't summon or activate the effects of that monster, so it doesn't really do much in that regard. And then, I mean, I guess having Overload Fusion's effect tacked onto a continuous spell and just being able to do that once per turn is nice, but like, how needed is it? Again, I don't think particularly. It's just weird, again, that's one of the face cards, but alright. So, as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit more about Horus and Memento, these two new archetypes, in some more detail. Salamangreat, we already covered all of their new cards in detail in a previous This Week in Master Duel episode. So, if I remember to, I'll link that in the description below. If I didn't remember to, feel free to yell at me until I do link in the description, and you can check that out there. But let's pop on over to Wikipedia here, and we'll start with the Horus archetype. So, the boss monster, the face of this deck, is going to be Horus the Black Flame Deity. It is a level 8 fire dragon with 3000 attack, 1800 defense. Fun fact, same stats as Horus the Black Flame Dragon, level 8, which is, of course, is a reference to. If you control a Horus monster in King's Sarcophagus, you can reveal this card in your hand, then send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard to send one card on the field to the graveyard. If you face a Horus monster you control except this card, or a face of King's Sarcophagus you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, then send all other monsters on the field to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Horus the Black Flame Deity once per turn. So, for being the archetype's boss monster and like the face you are that's on the selection pack, this card actually isn't that great, honestly. It can only really special itself, you know, off its own effect if your opponent has a card effect that makes your stuff leave the field. So the fact that you can't proc it with your own things means you're a lot more limited in when you're actually able to use this thing. It does also have the handy effect of being able to send any card on the field to the graveyard. The way it's worded, this does get around targeting because this card does not target. So if a monster has target protection, you can still use this on it. And then, of course, because it sends, it doesn't destroy. It gets around destruction protection as well. But you have to have already both a Horus and a King's Sarcophagus monster up. I don't know. This card is very reactionary in what it does, in pretty much everything it does, right? It's best for sending cards on your opponent's field to the graveyard, and it only summons itself when your opponent you know, destroys one of your, or causes one of your cards to leave the field by their card effect. So I think in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, you can't have a card this reactive and rely on it to be able to do your plays. It's a little too, like, slow isn't even the word. It just, again, it all relies on your opponent having stuff and doing stuff, right? It's very much like a going second card, but not even that great a one, honestly. Now, this card, MST Glory of the Horus, this is where the Horus archetype is going to start to look a little bit more impressive. So MST Glory of Horus is a level 8 Dark Spellcaster, 3000 attack, 1800 defense. If you control King Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. This will be a common theme among the other Horus monsters we're going to be seeing. You can only special summon MST Glory of Horus once per turn this way. You can use each of the following effects of MST Glory of Horus once per turn. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including this card. Add 1 King's Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. Then you can draw 1 card. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this is in your monster zone, except during the damage step, send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. So for a monster that's not the actual face of the deck, as like the boss monster, this is the actual best monster in the deck. As you can see here, it has the ability to special itself much more easily than actual Horus does. It can search your King's Sarcophagus, which we'll read later, but as you can probably already tell, is a key card for the archetype. What I really like is that you send this card and another card from your hand to the graveyard. You get the King's Sarcophagus, but then you still also get to draw a card. So, like, in a lot of ways, it's like, it can be better or worse than if it just said, discard this to add a King's Sarcophagus, right? Because it can also potentially help you cycle bad cards for better ones, but then again, you also have to have another card to send to the graveyard in order to, actually use the effect. So, pros and cons, but I think that the fact that it lets you draw for sending another card is very good. And then also, the effect where while it's in play, it can also just send cards from your opponent's field to the graveyard if they start sending your stuff. Or rather just causing your stuff to leave the field. So, overall, very, very good card. I would expect this one to also be a UR. This is definitely the one you want to go for. I think 3 of this in any deck wanting a Horus engine, for sure. Alright, Damatef Blessing of Horus is a level 8 Water Beast, 0 attack and defense. If you control King's Sarcophagus, special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. Gains 1200 attack and defense for each Horus monster you control. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card is in your monster zone, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names in your main monster zone. You can only use this effect of Duamutef, I'm sure I butchered that, I'm sorry, once per turn. So, this card, not really as impressive as the others. Its stats are going to be often on the low side. Like, optimistically, if you have 3 Horus monsters in play with different names, or just 3 Horus monsters, I guess, in general, they don't have to have different names. So are there 2, including this one, then it's a 3600. That's not bad, but I don't know. How often can you reliably expect to have that? Is like the main question. Also, I will say the effect of when a card leaves the field to draw multiple cards is pretty good. It reads pretty well, but you also got to figure that if this effect is proccing, then one of your monsters probably left the field, which means you're not going to be able to draw as many cards. 2, they'll probably just make this leave the field first so that you don't draw anything. So I don't think this card is it, honestly, for the archetype. I will say, before we read the rest of these, this deck is much better as an engine than an actual archetype, and you're going to see evidence of that as we move on. But, oops, hang on. Oh, here we go. Happy, Guidance of Horus is a level 8 Wind Beast Warrior, 2400 attack, 1600 defense. As always, ever, if you control King's Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from graveyard. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card is in your monster zone, except during the damage step, target 2 cards that are banished and or in graveyards. Either add both to the hand or shuffle into the deck. You'll use this effect once per turn. Yeah, I mean, again, this is not it at all. I think this archetype as a whole is just too reactive. Like, it seems like what they want to do is just put a bunch of the Horus monsters into play and then, like, wait for your opponent to start doing stuff. But that kind of strategy, again, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just far too slow. and not particularly viable as a result. Kebesnef. I'm sure I butchered that. Apologies. Protection of Horse is a level 8 Earth Winged Beast. 2,500 attack, 2,000 defense. If you control King Sarcophagus, special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. Let's see, if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, while this card is in your monster zone except during the damage step. Activate this effect this turn. Your opponent cannot target horse monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target horse monsters on the field with card effects. Again, it's like the attack and target effect protection is pretty neat, but it's only when your opponent makes one of your cards leave the field. That condition is just too strict, honestly, in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just not good enough. I think of the monsters, because I'm pretty sure this is the last one, I really do think MST is like literally the only good one here. Sad, but true. Alright, here is the King's Sarcophagus, the continuous spell card. Let's see what we got. Horse monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects that do not target them. Alrighty, that's pretty good. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to send one horse monster from your deck to the graveyard. He'll use this effect of King's Sarcophagus up to 4 times per turn. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if your horse monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the graveyard. Excuse me, sorry about that. So yeah, I mean, the King's Sarcophagus does kind of tie things together, right? It is pretty clear now that the game plan intended for a pure horse deck is to, like, open King's Sarcophagus, discard 4, descend 4, and then, like, summon back all 4 of your horse monsters, right? And then wait for your opponent to start trying to pick them off, which will admittedly be more difficult to do. And then also you do gain a massive advantage when battling. But again, I have to wonder, is that actually good enough, right? Like, in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is activating King's Sarcophagus, pitch 4, summon all 4 different of the horse monsters that come back by their own effect. Like, is that actually a good turn 1 play? And I don't think it is. I really don't think that's enough. I think that it's really easy for your opponent to, like, negate your monsters or King's Sarcophagus without even removing them from the field. You know, that would obviously be a huge downside if that happened. They can only... The Sarcophagus also only protects from destruction effects that don't target, so I'm thinking about, like, mass bouncing or banishing. That would be pretty bad as well. Or just, like, good old-fashioned battling, because they do only proc when a monster leaves by card effect. And while a lot of them do have, like, decent stats, I don't think they're so impressive that, like, that's enough to, like, hold off your opponent. So we do have a couple more cards to read from the archetype here. Walls of the Imperial Tomb is a field spell that says this card's name becomes King's Sarcophagus while in the field zone, rather. During your main phase, you can add 1 horse monster from your deck to your hand and place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. You can only use this effect in Walls of the Imperial Tomb once per turn. If you activate the effect of Horse of Black Flame Deity, you can draw 1 card. So this one is actually pretty useful for adding exactly MSC. And I think if you are going to use Horus as an engine, you do play this in addition to MSC and the King's Sarcophagus. They have a trap card as well. We're going to read that here. Canopic Protector is a continuous trap card. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon 1 horse monster from your hand or graveyard. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters with the same original name by the effect of Canopic Protector. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You will use this effect of Canopic Protector once per turn. So again, this is pretty clearly a way to summon out, you know, all 4 of your different horse monsters after they've been sent to the graveyard off the King's Sarcophagus, not only by their own effects, but then they can also come back with the help of the trap card during your opponent's turn. Again, though, I don't think this line ends up actually being good enough. So I think what we end up doing here with Horus, right, if you want to play this deck as an engine, the MSC, just play 3 of this. Very, very easy 3 of, in my opinion. The King's Sarcophagus, I don't think you necessarily need 3 of this, but obviously you want at least 1 for the MSC to be able to grab, and the field spell to be able to search the MSC. Not to be confused with Mystical Space Typhoon, by the way. I am, of course, referring to MST Glory of Horus here. This card, also being Dark Attribute, is fairly relevant for a lot of decks. And you might be wondering what kind of deck would want to use Horus as an engine. So it is actually used in stun decks as an engine, funnily enough, because you don't have to commit a lot to like summoning from the extra deck or anything to play this archetype. You can just use King Sarcophagus, pitch all of your like, you know, stuff you don't really care about, summon a bunch of Horus stuff, and then throw down some floodgates and you're good to go. There's also a lot of talk of using Tearlament with the Horus archetype. That is a strategy that's been pretty popular in the TCG. Now, granted, MST, for example, this sends as a cost, so that will not trigger the Tearlament's effects. King Sarcophagus also sends as a cost, so that those aren't why it's good with the Tearlaments. It's good because MST is a level 8 that can very easily summon itself, so you can pretty easily, just the Horus cards in general, they're all level 8. So it's really easy to end up making a zombie vampire, which is the rank 8. You might remember the rank 8 that mills for from each player, and then summons one monster milled to your side of the field. So that's what the TCG uses the Horus engine for in Tearlament. But you also have to remember that in the TCG, they don't have Kikkolos. So milling 4 is actually a lot bigger of a deal in the TCG. As a result, while Horus Tearlament will definitely be experimented with, and I don't think it'll be bad by any means, do I think it'll actually be the optimal way to play Tearlament in Master Duel? I don't think so. I could be wrong about that, but I guess we'll see as time goes on. I think it'll be, again, I think it'll be a neat option for Tearlament, but as long as Master Duel still has Kikkolos as well, I don't think you need to go into Zombie Vampire to mill 4, like, that desperately, you know? So, alright, we're going to go over the Memento archetype here as well. I know we're getting up there on time, so I'll try to keep this brief. I'll read through all of them. I don't really know much about this archetype, I will say. I know they get some future support in the OCG. Well, it like just came out in the OCG. I know they have a monster that fuses and a fusion monster. I would be very surprised if that came out in this set, because again, you know, that stuff just came out in the OCG. But granted, that has happened before with like Promethean Princess and stuff, right? So maybe. But anyway, we'll start with their boss monster, Mementol Tekulica. Combined creation is a level 11 Earthworm, 5,000 attack and defense. Big boy. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Memento monsters from different names. With different names, rather, from your hand and or graveyard into the deck / extra deck. While you control no other monsters, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls, once each. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon a Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. So, already we can see that this deck pretty clearly wants to get a lot of the Memento monsters in the graveyard, and see how they accomplish that. Mementolian Horned Dragon. Oh, fun fact about the Memento cards. Not the big 5k one, but a lot of the other ones are actually based off of old vanilla monsters. This one is based off of Tri-Horned Dragon. It's a level 8 Dark Dragon, 2850 attack, 2350 defense. If you have 3 or more Memento monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon one of this card per turn this way. If this card is destroyed by card effect, you can target 3 face-up cards in the field, including a Memento card you control. Destroy them. You can only use this effect of Mementolian Horned Dragon once per turn. So we not only see a recurring theme of wanting a lot of Memento monsters in the graveyard, but we're now kind of seeing that one way to get them there is to destroy them, and that maybe some of them want to be destroyed. Mementolian Tatsunuto Shigo. I'm so sorry, I'm sure I butchered that. Level 5 Earth Beast, 1350 attack, 1600 defense. Again, actually based off of an old vanilla. If you do not control any face-up monsters other than Memento monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, and you can send any number of Memento monsters with different names to your deck to the graveyard, whose total levels are less than or equal to the destroyed monster's original level. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So we see here a good in-archetype way to get a lot of Memento cards potentially into the yard relatively easily. Mementolian Dark Blade, of course, based on none other than Dark Blade himself. Level 4 Dark Warrior, 1800 attack, 1500 defense. If this card is normal or a special summon, you can discard one memento card, then target a spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy it. During a main phase, you can destroy one memento monster you control, and if you do, special summon one level 3 or lower memento monster from your deck. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Notably, the way this reads, destroy one memento monster you control, it doesn't say one other, so I think you can pop the Dark Blade to summon a level 3 or lower memento from deck, which is pretty neat. Mementolan Anguish. This is a level 3 Dark Spellcaster, 800 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is normal or a special summon, you can add one memento monster from your deck to your hand, except Anguish. You can target one level 2 or lower memento monster in your graveyard, destroy one memento monster you control, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. Also seeing a recurring theme of memento monsters caring about ones with levels lower than themselves. Mementolan Mace is a level 1 light fairy, 400 attack, 300 defense, based off of Key Mace, of course. During your opponent's main phase, if you control Combined Creation, the big guy, with 5,000 attack and defense, quick effect, you can discard this card. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of it until the end phase. Wow, that's pretty good. During your main phase, you can destroy one memento monster you control, and if you do, add one memento card from your deck to your hand, except this one. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Pretty solid, both disruption and a searching tool there. Mementolan Goblin, based off of Calligraphy Goblin, of course. Level 1 Dark Fiend, 400 attack and defense. During the main phase, if you control the big guy Combined Creation. Quick effect, discard this card. For the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot target memento monsters you control with card effects. During the main phase, you can destroy one memento monster you control. And if you do, send up to 2 memento cards, different names from each other from the deck to the graveyard, except this one. You can only use this card once per turn. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty nice way to continue filling up your graveyard. Again, it can also act as disruption during the opponent's turn as well. Alright, here's their field spell. Memento Mictlan. Yeah, alright. Anyway. If your memento monster battles you, your opponent can activate any spell trap cards to the end of the damage step. Ooh, that's good. If a monster you control is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can target one of those monsters, special summon one memento monster with a lower level. Again, we see the deck caring about that. From your hand or graveyard, you can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during the end phase, target a memento spell trap card in your graveyard, set it. Wow. Overall, very, very good field spell with a bunch of very relevant effects for the deck here. Mementolan Bone Party. Hell yeah. Ain't a bone party till the goblin shows up. We got a quick play spell here that says destroy one memento monster in your hand or face up on the field. Take one memento monster from your deck with a different name, either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense mode. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one memento monster you control, and it can do piercing. You can only use each effect of Bone Party once per turn. Mementolan Bone Back, another quick play spell card. If a face-up memento monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, special summon one Combined Creation, that's the big one with 5k attack and defense, from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. If your opponent moves a memento monster out of your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, special summon as many memento monsters as possible with different names from your hand and or deck. Whoa! This card seems... This is a really interesting support card, actually. Excuse me. Because it's totally contingent on your opponent, like, trying to mess with your stuff, right? But if they do and you have this, you can do, like, a lot. You can do a lot. That's a cool card. I don't know how good it is, but I think it's a very, very well-designed card. I like it a lot. Okay, is this... We have one more... We have this and then one more memento card here. Mementolan Fracture Dance. Normal trap card. If you control a memento monster, target one card in the field, destroy it. Then if you control the big guy, destroy one more card. When an attack is declared involving your memento monster and opponent's monster, banishes from your graveyard, and they all lose 1,000 attack. Wow, my voice is going. This trap card seems too slow, honestly. Well, I don't know about slow. It is a trap card, of course, but it doesn't do enough for being a trap card, right? Like, again, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! archetype trap cards can be good, but I think they need to do a lot, and I don't think this does. Maybe you just jam one copy of this because it's searchable, but maybe, I don't know. I just don't really see it being like the most useful thing. Cranium Burst. Okay, I know this card by name. Well, I know this, yeah, because I've heard friends make jokes about it. Anyway. Continuous trap card. While you control a memento monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack the memento monster you control at the highest attack, their choice if tied. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, except during the damage step, target one memento combined creation. It loses exactly 1,000 attack and defense, and if it does, negate that activated effect. Oh yeah, so this is going to be probably one of your main ways of actually interacting with your opponent. Now, this isn't an archetype trap card. Because, yeah, this is not a once per turn. It's not even a once per chain. It basically turns your combined creation into Light and Darkness Dragon. It only negates monster effects. It's not like an Omni negate, but still. It only costs 1,000 attack and defense, which, if you might remember, yeah, 5k attack and defense is the starting point. So having up to 5 monster effect negations with the continuous trap card is pretty solid. I've seen a lot of people say that Memento is like bad or just not great. I think that's over exaggerated, honestly. Like, I think that Memento will probably end up getting played more than Horus in Master Duel. I can tell you that much for sure. Probably even before the new support comes out for Memento. Not only does Memento have new and very relevant support coming at some point in the future, if it doesn't come out already, which I'm going to be very surprised if it did, but I think this will enter Master Duel as an extremely solid rogue deck. Who knows, maybe it'll see enough representation to be like even a high rogue, maybe even low tier 3. I'd be a little bit surprised if it actually managed to become tiered, but yeah, no, I think this will be an extremely solid rogue deck. So that's going to be it for this video. We talked all about the updates, of course, and then went over the 2 new archetypes coming into Master Duel. So thanks very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll show off the pack opening, and then today, the day this video is going up, I am also live streaming that pack opening and stuff, so definitely feel free to take a look at the description below to check out my Twitch page, where you can follow, sub, get notifications when I go live, or see VODs. If you weren't there live, you can still check out the VOD over there as well. But that'll be it. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page, where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs, as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.